The world held no fear for her, not until the laughter died on her lips and a chill, colder than reason, settled upon her soul. It began subtly, a series of unsettling events that defied explanation. Were they mere coincidences, random occurrences in a chaotic world? Or was there something more, a force unseen reacting to her defiance? Her name was Evelyn, a woman of science and logic who dismissed faith as a crutch for the weak. She lived in a world of data and proof, where the tangible reigned supreme. Religion, with its talk of deities and divine justice, held no sway over her. Evelyn saw the universe as a grand, indifferent machine, grinding forward with no regard for human hopes or prayers. One crisp autumn evening, Evelyn found herself passing an old cathedral, its stained glass windows glowing like embers in the fading light. The air was cool, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and the distant hum of evening prayers. The cathedral stood as a silent sentinel, its towering spires reaching for the heavens, a stark contrast to the bustling city around it. Evelyn paused for a moment, taking in the serene beauty of the scene, feeling a strange mix of reverence and rebellion stirring within her. A group of worshippers were gathered outside, their faces etched with solemn piety. They were a diverse group, young and old, their eyes reflecting a shared sense of devotion and hope. Some clutched rosaries, their fingers moving rhythmically over the beads, while others held candles, the flames flickering in the gentle breeze. The atmosphere was thick with a sense of anticipation, as if they were waiting for a divine sign or a moment of transcendence. Evelyn couldn't resist a sardonic comment, her voice echoing through the square. Praying to a silent God? What a waste of a perfectly good evening! Her words cut through the air like a knife, shattering the solemn silence. She had always been a skeptic, questioning the rituals and beliefs that others held dear. To her, the idea of seeking solace in an unseen deity seemed absurd, a relic of a bygone era. A hush fell over the crowd, their expressions a mixture of shock and pity. Some looked at her with disdain, their eyes narrowing in judgment, while others seemed to pity her, as if she were a lost soul in need of salvation. The tension was palpable, a silent standoff between faith and skepticism. For a moment it seemed as if time stood still, the weight of her words hanging heavily in the air. Evelyn, unfazed, walked on, her laughter trailing behind her like a bad omen. She felt a sense of liberation, as if she had cast off the chains of conformity and embraced her true self. Her laughter echoed through the empty streets, a defiant proclamation of her independence. As she walked away, she couldn't help but wonder if her words had planted a seed of doubt in the minds of the worshippers, challenging them to question their beliefs and seek their own truths. That night, as Evelyn settled into her routine, a series of strange occurrences began. The lights in her apartment flickered and died, plunging her into darkness. A chill permeated the air, despite the warmth of the evening. The hairs on the back of her neck prickled with an unfamiliar unease. She dismissed these events as mere inconveniences, but a seed of doubt had been planted. The unsettling events continued. Evelyn's phone buzzed incessantly with phantom calls, the silence on the other end filled with a faint, static-laced whisper. Objects moved inexplicably in her apartment, as if guided by an unseen hand. Her reflection in the mirror seemed to stare back with an accusatory gaze, the face unfamiliar and cold. Fear, a sensation she had never known, began to gnaw at the edges of her composure. Sleep offered no respite, for her dreams were haunted by shadowy figures and disembodied voices. Evelyn, a woman who had always prided herself on her rationality, found her carefully constructed world crumbling around her. The impossible had begun to bleed into her reality, challenging her very understanding of the universe. Was this the divine retribution she had so readily mocked? Was there a force beyond human comprehension capable of such swift and unsettling justice? Desperate for answers, Evelyn returned to the cathedral. She had been here many times before, but today felt different. The weight of her questions and the burden of her uncertainties seemed to press down on her more heavily than ever. She pushed open the large wooden doors, their creak echoing through the vast empty space. The familiar scent of incense and old wood greeted her, a scent that now seemed to carry a promise of solace. The grandeur of its architecture, once a source of amusement, now filled her with a strange sense of awe. The high vaulted ceilings and intricate stained glass windows seemed to whisper secrets of the ages. She found herself drawn to the beauty and the history embedded in every stone, every beam of light that filtered through the colored glass. It was as if the cathedral itself was alive, breathing and waiting to share its wisdom with her. The silence within its walls, once a symbol of emptiness, now pulsed with an unseen energy. It was a silence that spoke volumes, a silence that seemed to hold the answers she sought. Evelyn stood still, letting the quiet wash over her, feeling the presence of something greater than herself. The light streaming through the windows created patterns on the floor, patterns that seemed to dance and shift, as if guiding her to a deeper understanding. Kneeling in the cool, dim light filtering through the stained glass windows, Evelyn did something she never thought she would do. She prayed. She had always been skeptical of prayer, seeing it as a futile exercise, but now, in this sacred space, she felt a compulsion to reach out, to connect with something beyond herself. Her whispered words were not for forgiveness, not for salvation, but for understanding. She sought clarity, a way to make sense of the chaos in her life. Not for forgiveness, not for salvation, but for understanding. She prayed for the strength to face her challenges, for the wisdom to make the right decisions, and for the courage to accept whatever answers she might find. As she knelt there, bathed in the soft glow of the stained glass, she felt a sense of peace begin to settle over her. It was a peace that came not from having all the answers, but from the act of seeking them. In the silence of the cathedral, Evelyn found a quiet resolve, a newfound determination to continue her journey no matter where it might lead. The events that followed offered no easy answers. The strange occurrences subsided as suddenly as they had begun, leaving Evelyn in a state of unnerving limbo. Had her plea been heard? Had she been spared the full extent of whatever force she had awakened? Or had it all been a cruel trick of her own mind, a manifestation of her guilt and fear? Evelyn emerged from the experience a changed woman. The cathedral's towering spires and the church's solemn silence had always been her sanctuary, a place where she found solace and certainty. But now, as she walked away, she felt a profound shift within her. The world seemed different, as if a veil had been lifted, revealing a reality she had never before considered. The dawn's first light cast long shadows on the empty street, mirroring the shadows of doubt that now clouded her mind. She had always believed in the clear-cut answers her faith provided, but now, those answers seemed insufficient, incomplete. The certainty she had once clung to had been irrevocably shaken. She found herself questioning everything she had ever known. The doctrines and dogmas that had once been her guiding light now felt like chains, binding her to a limited understanding of the world. She sat on a bench, lost in thought, her mind a whirlwind of questions and doubts. What if everything she had believed was just a comforting illusion? What if the universe was far more complex and mysterious than she had ever imagined? The universe, she realized, held mysteries that defied logic and reason. As she gazed up at the starry night sky, she felt a sense of awe and wonder. The distant galaxies, the twinkling stars, the vastness of space, all of it seemed to whisper secrets that were beyond human comprehension. She remembered the nights she spent with her telescope peering into the depths of the cosmos, searching for answers. But now those answers seemed more elusive than ever. The more she learned, the more she realized how little she knew. Perhaps there were forces at play beyond human comprehension, operating on a scale unimaginable. The cosmic phenomena she had studied, the swirling galaxies and the vast expanses of space, all pointed to a reality that was far greater than anything she could fathom. She wondered if there were other beings out there, other forms of life that were grappling with the same questions. Or perhaps there were dimensions and realities that existed parallel to our own, hidden from our senses, but influencing our world in ways we could not perceive. Or perhaps it was all just a random series of events, a cruel cosmic joke with no punchline. The chaotic scenes of space, the random astronomical events, the swirling nebulae with no clear pattern, all of it seemed to suggest a universe governed by chance rather than design. She couldn't help but feel a sense of existential dread at the thought. What if there was no meaning, no purpose to it all? What if life was just a fleeting moment in an indifferent cosmos, a brief flicker of consciousness in an endless void? Whatever the truth, Evelyn was left with a profound sense of humility, a newfound respect for the unknown. She realized that her quest for knowledge and understanding was just a small part of a much larger journey. The mysteries of the universe were vast and unfathomable, and she was just a tiny speck in the grand scheme of things. But rather than feeling insignificant, she felt a sense of connection to the cosmos, a sense of belonging to something greater than herself. She stood on a cliff, looking out at the horizon, her heart filled with a mix of awe and reverence, and a lingering question that whispered in the silence of her soul, what if? What if the answers she sought were not meant to be found, but to be lived? What if the journey itself was the answer, a path of discovery and wonder that would never truly end? As she stared pensively into the distance, she felt a sense of peace. The questions would remain, but so would the journey. And in that journey, she found a new kind of certainty, a certainty that came not from knowing, but from embracing the mystery.